can hear us in the chat, let me know before we start talking, because then it's going to suck. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff, and then nothing's going to happen.
How do I get the chat here? There it is. That's got to be it. Look at that. We are awesome.
They can hear us just a little quiet. That's cool. I'll just increase the gain. Cool.
And I can talk a lot louder. I'm just saying.
Okay, now you guys should be able to hear us a bit better. Let me know if you can hear us better. And then we will start this stream.
Chat, doesn't it look like we got called into Umar's office?
It does.
Yes, you're in my office
we're
now.
In trouble. We got called in.
I do totally feel like that he's going to, issue us a detention
Still
or
very little.
suspend us
He's
or
either
some
suspending us or giving us a raise. It's one of the two things. You never know which way it's going to go.
Wow. Umar, if you're going to do one of the two, I mean, give us a raise. Come on. Man.
I'll give you guys a raise, but then you're going to have to be let go. Okay,
Yeah.
one more time. I raised it more. Okay, people are saying it's good for them now. We'll try one more time, just real quick.
I think the real test is can they hear Selenityy, because I think you have the softest voice here. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I can get loud.
Yeah,
I don't
you
think
do.
They want me
You do. You can.
Yeah. No, I don't think anyone wants me to get loud.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're good. Cool. All right. I'm not going to look at that camera. I'll kind of look at it. Like if I'm ghosting away from you guys, realize I'm looking at that camera behind you.
Save.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Alienware TV. This is the beginning of Tech Talk for Season 4. These videos, because of the great quality, look at these great cameras. I'm going to be uploading these to YouTube in case you miss them. They'll also be added to the collection on twitch.tv/Alienware or Alienware TV, whichever poison you prefer. Now, Anna's going to ruin this entire thing and walk in front of the camera.
Or improve it. You never know.
The great part about the YouTube videos will be they will be edited down, so we can take Anna out. Cool. So today for our first Tech Talk of 2018, I'm here with Bob and Selenityy.
Hey, everybody.
And Bob, you're the chief marketing officer over at
I am
at Killer Network.
Yep.
Rivet Networking, or
Rivet Networks is the name of the company, and
Yeah.
our primary product line is Killer Networking products. So, yeah, really excited to be here. So this is the first tech show of the year here.
This is the first tech show of the year. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, you started it off right. So.
So we're going to be going. So at CES, actually, there were some big announcements that came out from Dell, as well as for Rivet and Killer.
Correct.
And we're going to talk about that. It's the Killer 1550.
That's right. Yep.
And this is something that I mean, we've spoken about in the past. I'm so glad that it finally came out.
Me
By
too.
the way, Bob, last time we got to really talk was PAX West, man.
I know.
It didn't feel like that long ago, but it was. That was September.
And I got horribly sick after the PAX West.
Everybody died after PAX.
I seriously,
Yeah.
seriously, I kept getting like pneumonia or something. It was terrible.
Oh, so your head is in the camera somehow. Yeah, Anna will adjust it. That's weird because I sat there to make sure it didn't.
That's funny.
Just move it this way, Anna.
Good.
The whole podium, the whole tripod.
We're going to scoot really close.
Yeah,
to
move the whole
Okay.
tripod.
I don't want to be in it.
You're
Oh,
not
that
in
one.
it.
I don't wanna be in that one.
You're not in it.
Look at
That's
that.
good.
Look.
Okay.
That's good. Much better. There we go.
Frame on you?
No, you're good. You're fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So now that we're back to that, so at CES, what is it that you guys had announced? Like, what is?
Sure. So we have announced what we announced was a new Wi-Fi product. It's called the Killer 1550. And there are a few reasons why we're excited about it. We think there are a few reasons why, Alienware, customers ought to be excited about it. Probably the biggest is, let's just talk about the performance first.
Yeah.
A lot of people have, really excited because, they have Google Fiber or, gigabit service from AT&T and they have gigabit Ethernet. Well, that's been a feature on motherboards and computers for 10 years. I mean, gigabit Ethernet technology has been around forever. It's great that it's finally catching up in the home, but Wi-Fi has never been there. And so we have we've launched a new Wi-Fi product that has theoretical throughput speeds of 1.73 gigabits a second. That's theoretical, but in reality, in our labs, we see
That's more than enough.
that's more than enough. Like, we had this conversation about Twitch. That Twitch recommended, what was it, that you have 6 megabits
6.
upload
Yeah.
to stream, and we got way more than 6 megabits. So
Yeah.
so you ought to have plenty of speed with it. But from a theoretical standpoint, it's a little over 1.7. In our lab, we routinely see 1.2, and in the right kind of perfect clean environment, right time of day, nobody else is broadcasting kind of thing, we see 1.3. So, from a pure speed and throughput perspective, it's really pretty phenomenal. And the cool thing, the feature that lets that happen is most Wi-Fi chips have what's called 80 megahertz channel support. And so what that really means is in the spectrum of signal range that these chips communicate, 80 megahertz is basically a signal of like how wide the pipe is through the air.
Yeah.
So what this chip does is 160 megahertz. So it's literally twice as wide. It can do twice as much throughput. So yeah, if you buy an Alienware notebook or desktop with the 1550 in it, I mean, your Wi-Fi can theoretically and actually pump out more data than your Ethernet can. So yeah, it's really cool. It's really sweet.
That's something I'm gonna have to test because I have an Alienware in every room because they always give me stuff and no one ever asks for it back. So
nice.
It's in every room. I actually want to mess with that in my garage.
Cool.
So I want to see how good the connection's there because I want to try to do some. Have you seen some clips online of VR chat?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to be that guy.
You want to be the VR chat guy?
Yeah, so I'm gonna need a pretty good speed in my garage.
Well, it's funny. I bet that you're not alone in that. I know that my garage actually doesn't have a door, so this week I would not. Yeah, I live in a fairly nice house, but no one bothered to put a door in the garage, including me. So I guess it's more of a carport. But I was just thinking this week is probably not the week you want to be in your garage, given how cold it is here.
Oh my God! Yeah.
It was like 17 degrees here in Austin today,
Yeah.
which is highly unusual.
It was weird.
Probably one of the more interesting things about this product is kind of how it came about. We met with, we meet with everybody. Our promise with Killer is that we look at all the hardware vendors and we try to pick the solutions that really are the best in the market at any given time. Historically, we've gone with, our products have been built with Qualcomm chips. And Qualcomm has great products. They're awesome. Intel, we used to be a part of Qualcomm. I don't know how many people know that. We were actually a startup at first. Qualcomm bought us. Eventually, we spun out from Qualcomm. Now we're a company called Ribbon Networks. And when we spun out and started, growing our business, we had Intel reached out to us and they said, "Hey, listen, we really want to work with you guys, and gaming's going to be a focal area for us." And so, at the time, we were trying to decide, where we were going with our roadmap for Wi-Fi. Were we going to stick with Qualcomm? Were we look at other solutions? And we put together kind of a list of kind of wishes, like, "Hey, listen, Intel, we've got a pretty nice product with the 1535. We think it's the best in class right now.
Yeah.
But, if you could kind of come up with one of these things, we think that would be a really kind of powerful thing to go to market with and a good reason to, announce a, partnership, collaboration, whatever you want to call it, with you guys." So they came back to us and said, "Hey, we're going to do that. We're going to build something with 160 megahertz channels. We want to go with you guys." And so once that happened, we know Dell and Alienware has a real strong relationship with
For
Intel.
a long time.
For a long time. And so it was really natural. So when we started talking, with the team here, the team said, "Listen, we really want to be first with this product." So Alienware was actually the first people to offer the product for sale. They're definitely, our lead launch partner. And it was really, really excited to, be doing this, with you guys at CS, with you here now. And frankly, I think the people who win are the people who buy Alienware computers because they're going to get a great Wi-Fi product that's amazingly fast.
Yeah. So there are a couple things that I actually want to go over about the 1550.
Cool.
And this is I don't know how public is this information.
Oh, it's live.
It's live.
It's
right?
live. It's launched. We've
Would that
officially.
be something?
It's so live that we have officially gotten our hand slapped by Intel already with how we talk about
Please
it.
calm down.
So they're like, no, you can't say that. So yeah, it's live. We're talking about it. We're all pumped, and yeah, good to go.
Cool. Let me actually go over here.
Did the sound get resynced, chat?
One person says that.
The sound.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
I was waiting to see if the refresh worked.
Yeah.
Seems like Umar's camera sync, but maybe the other one is not.
Oh, okay.
So we might sound like we have an echo. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Let me get a quick little fix on that. I'm pretty sure I know how to fix that.
You know, the chat's nice. You can real-time adjust and get it right.
Let me quickly fix that for us.
This is a nice layout you got going on.
I made it today.
Right on.
Yeah. Let's just get that fixed.
We need to change brand advocate to brand badass.
I'm gonna help our eyes out right now. It's not an option. I was gonna make this dark, and so it's like instead of white, it'd be black, and then the black text would be white.
Oh, that would be nice. I don't know
It's
how to
okay.
do that.
We'll do it.
Do
It's
it
like an
another time.
extension or something.
Let's see. That should hopefully fix that.
So funny seeing yourself in time delay.
I know.
And I'll bring it back now. Hopefully this works. Because I can't see our changes to audio.
Yeah, we'll just have the mods tell us.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So now that threw me off. Damn it.
You had a question. You asked
I had a
how
question.
this
So
was.
here we go. I can't read this. Here we go. So let's talk about the prioritization
Sure.
of the killer technology. By the way, I still have that that Linksys router
Oh, do you?
that was sent. My God, that helped so much in my house. I
Good.
had so much family over on
Uh-huh.
with so many people over at the house streaming, playing games, and all that stuff. Like it helped so much to prioritize what was going on in the house.
It's really sweet. We should make sure we have a chance to talk about that before
Yeah.
we're done. But yeah, so one of the things I kind of mentioned was killer is it really promises to be on the best hardware. We do think this chipset we're on right now with 160 megahertz channel support is by far the fastest in the market. And so what we do when we work with a company like this is we give them some criteria. Hey, listen, if we're going to have our killer solution with it, we need some access to the chip. We need access to the chip. We need access to the queuing that, frankly, most companies don't have access to. And then what we do is we build our software to integrate with that. So what our software does is, and I don't know if you want to throw that image back up or not, but our software, and we've spent years and years and years honing this. It's actually kind of I'll tell you a quick story about one piece of this in a minute. But the software is designed on a computer to detect everything you're doing. It looks at the network traffic. It says, oh, this is a game, or oh, this is YouTube, or oh, this is Netflix, oh, this is BitTorrent, for example, or Steam download. And what we do is prioritize it, right? We say, listen, games are the most important. We're going to make them priority one. We're not going to let anything slow them down. And BitTorrents or Steam downloads, you guys are important, but there's nothing urgent about what you're doing. So basically, we're going to make everything else more important than you. So they'll be the slowest thing on the network. And that may sound easy, but it's actually pretty hard, especially when you get into something like a browser. Because if you get something like Chrome, well, you could have Chrome open to a web page that has a YouTube plugin, a Facebook plugin, a Google Ads plugin. They're all different network connections.
Yeah.
And frankly, they should all be handled differently. So what we do is we manage it by connection. And, we have an engineer that we tease about this because literally it took him over a year to figure out how to do this, to break it down by connection and figure out how to identify a website, identify that within that website it's got all these different connections, and to identify and handle and manage those separately. And so it's funny, there's actually going to be a review coming up, and coincidentally the review was done on an Alienware system. I'm hoping it goes live this week. I'll send it to you, but I've got a preview of the article. But what it shows is it shows, look, if you get an Alienware, it has a killer solution inside, which, fortunately, all of them do. It goes through and it handles, so that image you had flashed up earlier, games are first,
Yeah.
interactive video and voice is second, streaming's third, every kind of normal thing like normal browsing is fourth, email and sub-web downloads are fifth, and then bulk downloads are sixth. And
Yeah.
So we do a really good job of prioritizing that traffic. And one of the things we think is good for gamers is some gamers, like to turn off their downloads when they play games. And our belief is it's kind of dumb, like in the sense that we understand why they want to, because they don't want anything getting in the way of their gaming packets. But an internet connection is expensive now. I think I use Time Warner. They bumped me up to 100 megabits recently, and if I go play a game, if I turned it off, turn everything else off, games take like 20 kilobits of traffic. They take virtually nothing, barely anything. So to shut down your whole internet connections is kind of silly, especially when you get something like an Alienware computer that can let you manage everything, so you can game and download at the same time.
Cool. Yeah, no, it definitely helps a lot. And like you said, a lot of people don't realize how little how little of the packets that are actually being used for the games. Like, they feel like if they have anything downloading, it's going to totally bog down the game.
Mm-hmm.
But they can still continue doing everything else that they need to. It's just, as you said, lower the prioritization.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that with just like the default settings that are normally on a system, or the generic kind of installed network managers. And then the next topic that we've got here is actually, let's talk a little bit about your partnership with the 1550 with Intel.
Yeah, this is exciting for us. It's kind of funny because just from a personal standpoint, I spent years and years and years working at AMD. So now that we're working with Intel on this product, I didn't know what to expect, right? But the truth is, they've been great to work with. They've been extremely direct. The nice thing is we both kind of want the same thing. We both want to bring a really good gaming solution to the market. We both want to, frankly, be in your computers and serving your customer base. I kind of mentioned that they came to us and they kind of want to do this, and then we gave them a wish list, and they came back and said we're going to do this. That actually sparked a whole year and a half probably effort of how we're going to actually make that a reality. And it's all things from technical, like how are we going to make sure that everything we need access to we do, and testing it and getting it to work together. That's kind of one track. Then there's the business track with them, getting all the contracts signed to make sure we have access to source code and access to the parts of chips and the things we need. And then frankly, there's the whole logistical side, working with you guys, with distribution, making sure that at your factories where you're building Alienware computers, that these chips can show up. So it's actually a pretty big effort to, make sure everything, the stars align and the chips show up when they're supposed to, so people can buy them. But it's been really neat. The thing I love about it most is, if you go online and you read about networking, while there's several companies that do make networking chips, there are really only two that there seem to be a little bit of preference for. One is, of course, us. But there are people out there who really just like Intel. They like their CPUs, and even though their networking products aren't gaming specific, like they don't have packet prioritization like we do, there are people who just like their networking products. So we view this product as kind of the best of both worlds. Yeah, you have the solid foundation of that Intel chipset underneath, and you have our gaming features on top. And we think it's a great combination. So far it's been very positively received. We went through a whole lot of press at CES and leading up to CES.
Yeah, there was a lot. Like, I was actually surprised how much discussion over networking was going on.
Isn't it kind of crazy?
Yeah.
Even some of the tech sites, some of the bigger tech sites, like there were a couple of big tech sites where we had multiple articles about it, and I was like, that's kind of unusual. Usually if you have a launch and a site writes an article, usually that's the article. So to have more than one come up is kind of interesting for us. So we're excited. It's positively received. We definitely, kind of reading through the comments, that when people seem excited, it's based on Intel. So so we're pretty pumped about it. Yeah,
I think a lot of people in the community are really excited about it. I know that when CES happened, I was watching, the different PC subreddits, forums, and stuff like that, especially the Alienware subreddit. Yeah. And a lot of people were excited about this collaboration with this chip. Yeah. They're really excited.
Well, cool.
So looking forward to seeing what new experiences people will be, writing about out there.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Reddit right now and subreddits, because we've just hired a guy. Well, he's not true. He's been hired. We give him an assignment, and we're going to create our own killer, subreddit. So
Yeah.
so we're going to get that going. Hopefully, have a lot of crosstalk between the Alienware and the killer subreddit. So
Well, that always
be
helps.
good. Yeah,
it always
yeah.
helps, but
Yeah.
we can definitely start pushing over to each other.
Exactly.
The kind of talk that's going on.
And by the way, we talked about getting our hands slapped with Intel. This is funny. We got their PR team came and said, no, you see collaboration, not partnership. So as soon as I saw this, I realized our toolkit still said partnership. So I fixed that. Now it says collaboration. So anyways, if you're Intel, don't worry. I just changed it. We're good.
So before we move on to the next section, let's actually, if you don't mind, there's a couple of questions that came up.
Oh, sure. Yeah, let's do it.
So there's a question going on, and this is actually from Ernie here at Dell. And he has a question. He's saying, if he's running 2 systems with killer cards, can he prioritize system 1 as more important than system 2?
Interesting. Do we know if he's with the router? Does he have the router too?
Ernie does not have the router. I did
Okay.
not give him one.
Okay. Okay. So Ernie, the short answer to the question, let me tell you what Killer does. So Killer identifies the traffic, prioritizes it, and the killer in the computer sends it to the router.
Yeah.
Once it sends it to the router, the kind of answer is no. Then the router's going to handle it however
Yeah.
the router handles it. However, the router will be getting the information that's most important first, so theoretically it should be first in the queue. But the reality is the router's a big point. It's a point where lag can get created and latency can increase. And just so you guys know what happens in this situation, so let's say we have 2 computers. Let's say somebody's doing downloads, somebody's gaming. It's all going to the router. And let's say you have a 50 megabit connection, just for example. And by the way, the average in the U.S. is 18.7. So
Yeah.
a lot of people don't have fast internet connections still.
Yeah.
So when the packets get to the router and the router starts sending them, the router sends it to a server, and the ISP says, "Look, I know you're sending me a whole lot of traffic, but you only got 50 megabits. So
Yeah.
I'm going to take this 50 megabits, and these other things are going to drop." And so what happens, those packets get dropped and they have to get retransmitted. And that's where latency goes up. That's where everything increases. So we think it's really important to also have a really good solution at the router. And that's why we recommend that Linksys router.
And the thing about that, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the thing about that Linksys router is it's a true gaming router.
Yeah.
Because I've used gaming routers for years, and they're just BS. Like, it's...
Yeah.
They've taken some more advanced IT solutions and put it on there and just threw the gaming label on there. Like, no, you have to be smart as hell as a gamer to use this. But the Linksys router is legitimately, the interface is very simple to navigate through, and you know exactly the kind of prioritization and power that you gain from it.
I think gamers are naturally a skeptic group of people because they're willing to pay more for performance. And so a lot of times companies who have a real desire to sell a high-end, frankly expensive product will target at gamers whether or not it has benefits. And I'd argue there are a lot of gaming routers out there that, where they just add more radios or add more antennas, but it doesn't really have any true gaming functionality in there like the Linksys does. So anyways, going back to your question, Ernie, I'll try not to talk about this for 12 minutes. But at the end of the day, what the router does, if you have 2 killer devices talking to it, the router has a couple features. The first is the killer tells the router, hey, this stream of network data is a game, this is a download, this is a video stream. So if you have 2 killer devices communicating to the router, it'll get one stream and say, this is a game, it'll get another stream, oh wait, this is a video. And by the way, it does it up and down. And so it'll handle those things differently.
Yeah.
There's also a feature in there where you can do some device prioritization. I'm not 100% sure how the device prioritization works if you have like 2 killers prioritized against each other. The reason for that is that I don't know that the device prioritization is going to make much of a difference, and here's why. Is games take such a little amount of traffic. The next thing down, priority 2, is interactive video like Skype or Link or something like that. That takes a little bit more, but not a ton. Streaming video takes even more, and then kind of more and more volume of network data is taken as it goes down the list. So if you have 2 killers with a real gaming router, like the Linksys, you shouldn't have to worry about prioritizing one over the other because it's giving priority to the right thing.
Yeah.
And the most critical things where latency really matters don't take up a lot of traffic. So I don't know that if you had that router and had that working, I don't know if you'd feel the need to prioritize one killer over another.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Well, that answers his question. I already knew that was going to be the answer.
One other thing that's cool about the router is killer. We let you change priorities on each killer machine.
Yep.
So if you wanted to set it up, you could go to one machine and say, killers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You go to the other machine and just bump everything down. Games are 2, interactives 3, and the router will honor that. So you could configure it, through
Because
killer.
people have different uses for their PCs. I have my gaming PCs in my bedroom, but in the living room are the streaming PCs. Not to stream out to the world, but like to watch stuff.
Yeah, I have a server PC in my living room to watch movies and shows and stuff, and then my computer is in my stream room.
And it just helps because there's different priorities that you have on each different system.
Yeah.
So one more question, because there's a couple that are coming up.
Let's get 'em.
So we're going to try to hit 2 at a time. So the next one is from Layden Swallow. I guess that's how you say it. Is it possible to buy this killer chip outside of a new build computer? And do you need 2? One for the router, for the desired computer?
That's a great question. So historically, the answer has been no. You could only buy killer products inside an Alienware PC. So, we're one of our other partners. But the main thing that's new with this chip is how we sell our products is really limited by the chipset vendors and how they handle regulatory. It's like FCC or the European Union's equivalent of FCC. And it's basically like, how do they handle the chips and how they radiate and what power, what gain can they broadcast at and things like that. We actually now can sell these chips individually.
Yeah.
So I would expect in the next month or so for you to see these. That being said, I don't know how many people would want to install these. It's not like opening up a desktop and putting in a PCIe card. These are little M.2 modules. They're really small. They're designed to fit in notebook chassis. And certainly there are people who are comfortable opening a notebook and doing that or putting one of these in a desktop motherboard that can handle it. Not everybody's that comfortable. We might look in the future at a PCIe version, but frankly, most of our business is going to be focused on selling through systems, like Alienware.
And quick stab at our competitors. If you decide to open up your system, Alienware does not void your warranty. You're free to open up your system, go in there and swap out parts.
Boom.
We will cover what you initially purchased your system with, but if you put in that killer card or you change your RAM or anything else, that's your thing, but you're not going to void the entirety of your system. You're just going to, we're covering the parts that we sold you. So how about
That's
that?
actually pretty sweet.
So how about that? No sticker that says you're going to void your warranty. So
that's actually really sweet.
So the next topic I kind of want to go over is the competitive breakdown. And if we look over here, we can see the product definition of the 1550 versus the general competition that's out there against the killer. So we have, I'm actually going to open up this because I can't really see it too well.
Okay, cool.
Okay, I'm going to now I can see it perfect. This is great. Okay, so support for I don't know how you say this. Would you say triple E?
No, what we say is there's so many wireless standards that come out.
Yeah. The
latest one for sort of consumer grade wireless chips is AC. It's kind of the last one in that long list. And so we support AC. It says with 2 spatial streams. It means 2 antennas.
Yeah.
And there were some companies that had 3 antenna solutions out there for PCs. They've gotten out of the PC market. They know right now in the PC market, really from Alienware, from anybody, you're buying a 2 antenna solution. So it is a standard, and as you can see by the checks box, pretty much every vendor supports wireless AC by now.
Yeah. Max wireless throughput of 1.73 gigabits.
That's where we kind of fist bump or something.
Yeah, because that's just incredible. So I have gigabit Ethernet at home.
Yeah.
And I hate that when I get on my wireless cards, like it's not using all that.
Yeah. Seriously.
So
it's true.
like it just everything else downloads so fast, or I can do anything on them. Like say I wanted to stream from the kitchen.
Yep.
Right. Like if I wanted good quality, like I would have to be wired. Especially if I was using like my laptop to do that. But that's awesome that I can actually fulfill the entire use of what I'm paying for with the wireless card. Supports 160 megahertz channels bandwidth at 5 gigahertz. No other competitor has that right now. Let's go over what you beat everybody at.
Let's go straight to the X's.
Yeah, let's go straight to the X's. Integrated Bluetooth 5.0.
So that's cool. So I recently took over our Facebook page. I manage that. It's actually been kind of fun. One of the things I've been surprised by is how many people really care about Bluetooth and their support within their PC. So
yeah,
when we first started doing this, we realized we had Bluetooth 5.0. In my head, I was like, oh, cool, check. And then as we got to launch, I was like, wait a minute, this is a lot bigger than a check. This is a really differentiating feature that we have Bluetooth 5 support. So we're really pumped about it. So if your consumers want to go and buy Bluetooth 5 devices, they can with the 1550. It'll get all those benefits of Bluetooth 5. So.
Awesome. And I know Bluetooth. I know that Bluetooth is a big deal because when I was working on the Alienware Alpha, that was one of the things I really had to work on to make sure everything was working well and to the speeds that we had promised. And I know how important that is to people. A lot of people probably don't even think about how important it is until you have to look up like the real world experiences and situations that you need for the Bluetooth. Lag and latency reduction through technology for low latency gaming and VoIP.
Yeah, this has been a heart of our technology. It's kind of almost a subset of our advanced stream detect technology where we prioritize packets. But with lag and latency reduction, what we do when we identify that we have this urgent packets, usually it's a game unless someone has changed something in their priorities. I mean, we literally turn everything off. We clear queues, we get that to the front of the queue, we dump any queues that need to. We do everything we can to either get that packet out as fast as we can, or once we receive it, to get it to the game as quickly as possible. So that's what that technology is designed to do.
Then you have advanced stream detect application detection. What is that exactly? I'm not really sure.
Advanced stream detect is what we call our ability to detect what the different streams of networking traffic you have on your computer are, and then classify them. Is this a game? Is this a download? Is this a Skype call? Something like that. This is I was reading through the comments, and somebody, I think it was maybe Nightwolf, said that a lot of routers have media prioritization. And he's right. Some routers definitely do have media prioritization. But the real thing is, and what I think he means by media prioritization is what I'm talking about, detecting what your streams of network traffic are so that you can prioritize them. But it's really hard to do that. In a computer, it's nice because we have kind of perfect information. We can know if DirectX is running. We can know what the title of the process is within Windows. I mean, we can look. We have really detailed ability to look at what the Windows network stack to see what the patterns of the traffic are. And on a router, that's hard to do. I mean, it's really hard to do it on a router. You don't have nearly the information at your disposal that you do on a computer. So one nice thing about our advanced stream detect is not only can we detect what it is when we're working with a router that has what we call the killer prioritization engine, that kind of its complement in the router. Yeah. We're able to communicate that information to the router so that if it can't figure it out on its own, we tell it, hey, this is a game. Don't worry about figuring it out. We know this is a game. So it's pretty exciting. And I didn't answer one of the questions earlier. They said, do we need a chip for the router? And the answer is no. Or, if you buy the Linksys router, it's got plenty of hardware in there, and it has our software already there. You don't have to buy an extra chip for it.
Yeah, that's actually, so my wife has a system that's not using killer technologies or anything like that. And I have the router hooked up to it, and it works just fine for the prioritization that I'm using it for. What am I looking at here?
I don't know, but show me and we'll figure it out.
I'm trying to find it. Here we go, back here. So many buttons. Network priority levels. You have 6.
We have 6, yeah.
Compared to 0.
Yeah, we love it that the competition has 0.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that means they have to keep playing catch up while you can just keep going forward. Yeah. The moment that they get 1 or 2, you'll have 12.
Yeah, and the reality is not prioritizing network traffic is. I mean, it's kind of, I don't want to use the word dumb, but it's kind of dumb. I mean, it really should be done. If you think about it, you guys sell computers that have amazing CPUs, they have amazing GPUs. The only thing that's should really slow down a game is the network connection.
Mm-hmm.
So, we think that having the network solution in there that's built for gaming really eases the load on the whole system so that it can, not get starved for data while it's trying to give the user a good gaming experience. So.
Yeah, definitely. I know that, I've had people send me messages like, oh, I'm playing this game and I'm lagging, and it's not even specific to Alienware, just any game, right? And like they're like, but I have all this stuff in my computer. Like this is like back in like the 7 series. Like I have like a 750 Ti. Like why am I lagging in game? Like yeah, but are you like network lagging or graphically lagging?
Yeah.
Because they're two different things.
They really are.
And they're like, oh well, my ping's all over the place, and that's your freaking network.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
yeah, so you got to make sure that also doesn't. There's a lot of different experiences that come with the PC that people need to realize that they have to account for.
Mm-hmm.
Hard drive, networking, your processor, your GPU, all that. Mm-hmm. Every choice you make matters. Default, the highest priority for network traffic is games, video, and voice. It makes sense. They're part of the experience of when you're using a system. Ability to customize each application's network priority, you kind of went over that.
Yeah.
Bandwidth monitor by application.
Yeah, this is kind of cool. One of the things you can do with Killer is we have an apps tab in our software that you can go in and look at, and it lists out all the applications or websites you're on, shows you by application or website how much traffic it's using, and then you actually have a slider bar on there where you can move it and say, hey, I know I've got this Steam download going. I don't want it to take more than 20 megabits. And you can slide it down to 20 megabits, and we won't let it take more than 20 megabits of your connection. So we really give users a lot of control over how their networking is set up. They don't have to do it. I mean, we believe we manage it really well for a good experience, but if they're the type of people that want control and want to tweak, they have the ability to do that with our stuff.
It's always important to have that stuff, even if it's a lowest common denominator of people that like that free control. The thing is, you want people to, all the different kind of users to have that ability. You have it where it's taken care of, and then you have people that just want to get in there and handle it themselves. So it's important to kind of cater to those audiences.
What about streamers? Do streamers like to have that ability to go in?
Yes.
Yeah,
for sure.
to tweak and play. Yeah, makes sense.
And then I had to keep switching this.
No, it's cool.
All right, so then we have ability for the end user to set the bandwidth. Well, I mean, you literally just said all that. Cloud support, push button for detection updates. What does that mean?
So so we detect traffic in a lot of different ways. One of which is pattern kind of recognition and some heuristical information. So applications, games, things like that, we kind of detect by how the traffic is shaped and how big the packets going back and forth, how often they are. And we have some rules for that, and we also have a list of kind of things that help us detect websites. So if everyone wants to get our latest rules or latest website list, they can go hit a button, they can go up to the cloud and pull down a new detection file, and they'll get the latest and greatest. One of the coolest things about what we do, though, is for games, we don't look for things like Overwatch or PUBG. And we literally look for heuristics of what gaming traffic should look like. So we should detect games day one of release.
Yeah.
For things like if a new website comes out, then we might need to update that detection file for people to get that. But that doesn't happen very frequently anymore.
Because there aren't, I mean, it's kind of, which sites are going to be the ones that are going to be chunking away at things, unless something new and cool arrives. But I think everybody will hear about it by the time it rises up.
There's a comment here that's interesting. Wi-Fi is actually pretty bad on my Alpha R1. I think Alpha might be the one exception to having Killer in there.
I don't think it has Killer.
I don't think the Alpha has Killer.
I mean, I can look it up.
You may want to crack that open and put Killer.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't, because I have one in my living room, and that's my Roblox machine for the kids.
I just realized my computer's sound on. I'm going to try to fix this. There we go.
So the Alpha, somewhere it's going to tell me. Normally it's right there. No, it does not have a Killer card in it. So, yeah. But the next topic, I guess, would be The Wi-Fi analyzer dynamically measure access point signal strength and channel usage. What does that mean? Does that mean based off the Wi-Fi card, it prioritizes the best connection that you're possibly going to get, or is it the speed that the connection offers? Or?
Yeah, so the example I give is we're in an office building. There are probably like, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 businesses in our office building. Everybody's got their own network and access points. And we've got this screen that lets you go in, that lets you look at all the signals. It tells you by kind of channel, Wi-Fi channel, how many signals there are. And then we could look at things and say, and it's a little bit misleading. Like a lot of people will look at that and say, oh, wow, there are like 6 networks on this channel. I should stay away. And the answer is maybe. You know, that's a warning sign that there are 6 things. 6 things there you should stay away. But the reality is, you'd be better off on that channel with 6 things that aren't broadcasting very much than on a channel where there's only one other thing that's broadcasting a ton. Yeah. So there's kind of like a scoring that we go through to rate, you know, maybe what channel you should be on. And so we don't do it automatically, but we do give the users the tools to go inspect their wireless environment. And then if they see a channel that maybe they should be on, they can go to the router and set that channel, and then everything will be, you know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
I'm learning so much right now. I'm going to go home and mess with my computers. Supports Killer Double Shot Pro technology. I know what that is. I've gone over it many times when I do my product walkthroughs. Let's hear it from you.
Yeah, well, you know, one of the things that we love about Alienware is Alienware bought in really early to this idea, which is look, most high-end computers today have an Ethernet and a Wi-Fi chip in it. There are certainly some thin-end lights that don't have, you know, an Ethernet, but most computers that we call gaming computers, whether desktop or notebooks, will have both. So our idea is look, you know, the way Windows works is Windows uses defaults to the best connection. So even if you have wireless and Ethernet connected at the same time, Microsoft's just going to pump all your data over one connection.
Yeah.
Our thought was, that's not optimal. It's the best way to put it. It's not the best way to do it. So we let you connect to both connections to either the same router or maybe even to different networks. You don't have to go to the same network. And then we let you choose for each of those priority levels which priority goes over which network. We do it automatically unless the user changes it. The way we automatically do it is we determine which is the lowest latency connection. And whatever that is, that's where we put your games, your voice, your video on. And actually we've experimented on this. We actually, I think, put our top 4 or 5 priorities on the fastest connection, and then that last one, the games, we put on the slowest. The downloads we put on the slowest. And so the idea is the thing that's going to just hurt the performance of everything else you care about, let's move it to another network.
Yeah.
That being said, it's totally configurable. They can configure it however they want. But be able to use both Wi-Fi and Ethernet at the same time and have that, you know, ability to configure it, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, definitely.
I have never talked this much about this chart before. This is like really fun. We've been doing these charts for like 3 years, so this is fun.
See, this is something I've actually spoken with our marketing people about. Like, we put these charts up, people can read them, but man, it helps a lot more if you're able to communicate with them and they can actually see that kind of video playback or stream and answer those kind of things.
There's an interesting question here. Do you mind if I answer it?
Sure,
Can you
go
guys
for it.
show comparisons between the 1550 and the 1535 wireless cards?
Do I have a slide for that?
You have one chart that kind of shows it, but I mean, what it's going to show is that it's twice as fast, because that's what it is.
Yeah, I think I have a speed chart here. 1550 versus a competitor, and I have...
It's like a bar chart, like a horizontal bar chart.
This one, yeah?
He's going to flash this up, Master Dark 9999.
It's
a cool name.
It's the Killer 5050. 1550 demolishes the competition, right? And it's a bar chart that I have here.
Yeah, so we haven't seen it. It hasn't popped up on our screen yet, but I'm sure.
You know what? I think it might be.
This yellow, pop it up, yeah.
I think it might be this one.
Yeah, so to answer your question, both the Killer 1550 and the yeah, this is a great chart. This is perfect. Can in the 1535, they both have all the killer features for gaming, acceleration, prioritizing, detecting traffic, double shot pro. They all have those features. Kind of the biggest thing you're getting with the 1550 over the 1535 is twice as much throughput and Bluetooth 5.0 support. There's also one software feature I'll talk about too here in a sec. But on this particular chart, if you look on the left, it says twice the throughput, and it shows us versus a bar called competing Wi-Fi products. The 1535 would be lumped for this chart in those competing Wi-Fi products. It only has 80 megahertz channel support, so it just can't. I mean, the theoretical maximum for that is 867 megabits.
Yeah.
We have seen it over 700 megabits in actual traffic. That's kind of like the best we've seen. Routinely, we see over 600. So that's great. That's really fast for an 80 megahertz part. But the 5050, you do get twice as much. So, but the other, just to be clear, the other two things where it's comparing latency while multitasking and online video resolution while multitasking, the 1535 would actually be lumped into the killer bar here. In both these cases, because we prioritize traffic, the 1535 will get similar latency benefits while multitasking as the 1550. And this is a new metric we put up here. And the one on the right that says up to 4x better video resolution. And what we mean by that is this. If you watch Netflix, and I'm sure you guys have all done this, and you start streaming a video, sometimes it just comes out looking crappy. It's pixelated.
Takes a while.
Like my wife just won't watch it. If it comes out pixelated, she's like, no. And so, it's on an Amazon Fire, and I've got to go through and, get it going to our TV.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'll pull out my laptop and do it that way because, we get the killer benefits with that. But but what we do, what happens is that if your network connection is slow or stalled, the companies that send the data, they know that their packets aren't getting to you. So they're going to send you less packets. So until they start figuring out that, hey, you are actually getting all my packets and using all my packets, they're not going to send you the data you need to get an HD, experience.
Yeah.
So with us, since we prioritize streaming video quite highly, they know that, okay, we can send them all the data they need because they're using it, and you actually end up with a much better resolution experience. In fact, one of the tests we do is we'll say, look, there's an ability in our software to turn off all the killer features, and you can get a download going and a video going at the same time, and turn us on, and the video will play HD. Turn us off, and that download will suck everything up, and the video will get starved, and the resolution will just drop. And so it's real easy to do, really easy to duplicate. And so anyways, that's what that chart was trying to communicate, that you actually can get better resolution just by having a better network card.
Yeah, definitely. Man, that really annoys me too. Cool. Actually, Israel, I guess that's how you say it. How does it double your megabits per second if your telecom company throttles you at what you get?
Yes. So for me, in my 100 megabit connection at home, I can't take advantage of the full, 1.2 to 1.3, to the internet unless I upgrade.
Which I don't think is offered.
It's not offered. It's not offered to me. I can get gigabit, but my family doesn't quite need it for what we do. At the end of the day, what we spend a lot of time doing in my family is we not only stream things, but we move things around the house for media servers and NASs and things like that. That's where if you have a router and 160 megahertz supporting chip, you can really move things around the house a lot faster than you would with, you get limited 800. You say that bugs you. It bugs me more when I'm trying to move stuff to a NAS and I'm like, I'm not going as fast as I could be. It just irritates me. So so you obviously have limitations to your ISP. You know, our belief, we always laugh. It's funny. Some quotes will never go away. And Bill Gates, you know, 640K ought to be enough for anybody.
Yeah.
You know, people think, you know, a gigabit ought to be enough for anybody, but no. In fact, in other parts of the world, you're starting to see bigger than gigabit internet service to homes.
Yeah.
And we think that'll come to the U.S. at some point.
I hope so.
I mean, there's so many people that want it, and frankly, you know, you know, just because I'm proud to be an American, sometimes I get a little demoralized. I say, oh, like, you know, this Korea or Singapore is getting these 2 gig speeds. I'm like, oh, that's what I want. You know, I want it to be here.
That's what I want.
I want to be here in America. So, hey, for those of you, you know, watching from there, hey, awesome, enjoy. I'm just totally jealous.
Enjoy your great internet.
Enjoy the great internet.
Yeah, but just to be clear, the 1550 isn't magic. We can't magically give you more speed due to your ISP. But we do a lot of other cool
Well, you can definitely enhance your experience with it.
Oh, absolutely.
But I mean, it is a wireless card, and wireless cards do tend to be in laptops. And I mean, you're going to be on your home network, but how often are you actually going to be traveling to different areas that might have better internet connection? So you can definitely take advantage of that.
For sure.
And if you go somewhere that has good internet, you can feel that miracle for a moment in time.
Yep.
Yeah, just for a moment.
Yeah, just for a moment in time, and then realize.
You guys want to go to Singapore?
I actually almost got sent recently. For a while, it wasn't gonna be like a week thing. I was like, no. Okay, cool. So I still got my competitive breakdown here.
This is so fun. I'm not, as you can tell, I'm so enamored with the chat. I'm like, oh, Nightwolf is bad at math. Hey, welcome to the club, man. How do you feel?
When she was talking about geometry earlier, that was the only math I got an A in.
Are you good at Hanzo?
No, I haven't even played it. I have failed every form of math. Like, I had an A in geometry, but I failed everything else.
See, I'm reverse. It was like geometry, I couldn't, but everything else in math was
I can
really
apply
fun.
math. I had AP chemistry, and I had an A in that, but I don't know why I just can't do it as a normal problem for math, but whatever.
It's neither here nor there.
So, okay, we already went over the double shot technology.
That was great. That might be the line of the day so far.
What about supports killer extend network extension technology? That is not something I'm really familiar with.
So this is right now a motherboard feature. We're trying to talk Alienware into putting this in an Alienware computer. So I'll give you my pitch, Umar, so you can push it.
Good, because I'm gonna have a dinner today, so I might as well push it to everybody while I'm there.
Okay, awesome. So one of the things we notice at people's desks, you go to a gamer's desk, they often have a lot of things. They have a computer, they have a switch. And depending, if you walk around the house, sometimes they'll have like a wireless network extender, you know, as well. Mm-hmm. Gigabit Ethernet switches aren't that expensive, maybe $20, $30. Wireless extenders, they are pretty expensive. I mean, they're like $50 for cheap ones. You can spend $150, $200 depending on how much you want to spend on it. So we had this idea, like, listen, the most powerful thing in a gamer's home, electronics-wise, is generally their gaming computer. It has more compute capacity, it has more speed and raw performance than anything else. So we said, look, you know, there are some computers, you know, even some Alienwares that have 2 Ethernets in them. Mm-hmm. And so if you have 2...
I think the Threadripper actually has 2.
It has 2. And in that case, we actually have 2 Ethernet and 1 Wi-Fi. We call it Double Shot Pro X3. Mm-hmm. And if you want to know why we don't call it Triple Shot, it's because we just have too many brand names out there. So we call it Double Shot Pro X3. And what we do is we manage 3 network connections. You can now kind of sort your traffic on what goes over which. But what we said was, you know, what about if we let people who have multiple connections actually use those ports as network extensions rather than connections? So what we did is we built a technology called Killer Extend. Mm-hmm. Kind of the criteria, it's got to have 3 Ethernet and a Wi-Fi. And there are instances where there are 4 out there. But the idea is that you can take let's say you have a basement and you know it just gets bad coverage. You can run a cable down to your computer, plug it into one of the ports, use the other 3 ports to power, you know, whatever it is, maybe your gaming console, your NAS, whatever it is else that you have going on down there. And then you can use the Wi-Fi as a network extender. And so we're just allowing people to use the computer in ways where it hasn't been used before. It's kind of cool. It got an award at CES this year.
You're giving me so many weekend projects.
So, and the best part is I think gamers know adding an extra Ethernet port is not an expensive proposition to a computer. I mean, the Threadripper, you're right. It has to they just have to add one more Ethernet port and it would work.
Yeah.
And where we detect 3 at a Wi-Fi, we enable this thing called Killer Extend, and you can use it. And the nice thing is you don't have to devote your Wi-Fi to just extension or a connection. You can people can connect to your computer, and then you can either use the Wi-Fi from your computer to connect to the router and kind of send information, or it can go over a wire. And the other thing we do is we prioritize the traffic on the computer over connected device traffic. So the connected device traffic doesn't slow down what's happening on your computer. So anyways, that's kind of more of a motherboard feature, but we want it to be an Alienware feature so bad.
Well, all right.
I'll do it.
I'll do it. I'll plead the case at dinner.
That's awesome.
Let's take a quick look. I think we already went over that chart, but I kind of want to go over now. I think
what he's going to pull up now.
You're
Did
gonna
you
see.
give him the stuff?
Yeah, but I don't remember it anymore. Stage fright.
Let's see. I'm gonna pick a good one. I'm gonna pick a real good one. Is it this one? No, it's not this one.
I did cheat. I brought some stuff.
No, don't open them. And I told you to keep them.
Don't open it.
Okay, so let's talk about.
Okay, let's see what he pulled up.
Yes, let's talk about speed. Let's talk about
the need for speed.
The need for speed, and I have 2 charts for this.
Okay. Yeah, this is it's amazing to me, like the value of visualizing something over saying it. Just for me to understand something, you can tell me something's twice as fast. You can say, oh, it's 1.2 gigabits.
Yeah.
But when you start kind of placing it over, things that people actually buy, someone coming in. Come on in. Oh, no, don't
We're
apologize.
just going over the main topic.
We're gonna quiz you on stuff you haven't heard us talk about. So one thing, I encourage, if people are out there buying computers, I really encourage them to take a look at Wi-Fi's. I have seen, I will not mention, any of your competitors' name, but I have seen your competitors put out gaming computers with single antenna networking chips in there.
Man, I have not seen that since 2006.
Well, I see,
like in an Alienware.
Oh, no, not in an Alienware.
Yeah.
I agree. I haven't seen it in an Alienware either. But
Yeah.
I have seen it in your competitors. And these are like $1,000 plus systems. I still see them sometimes in.
Yeah.
So if you get one of those single antenna solutions, it's that bottom chart. That's the Wi-Fi you're getting. You can kind of top out at a little over 300 megabits. I can't see the chart, but I'm going from memory there. A little over 400 megabits. And then, if you get a 2 antenna solution, you're going to be in that range of the second from the bottom, which is, certainly not bad. That's where a killer 1550 is. But if you move up to, the 1550, you really can take off in terms of speed and throughput. So, yeah, it's pretty sweet.
And thanks for explaining that, the 1 antenna versus 2 antenna. I don't think a lot of people put that together.
You know the other thing? Let me talk about this. One thing. I'm going to use my computer because I think I'm on screen with this, so people will see the computer.
On screen now.
So companies put computers, and thank God I'm using a Dell machine. But
quick, throw a sticker on it.
I don't know where they are, but companies put antennas, typically down in the hinge,
or along the side,
or along the sides, or along the tops. If you have 1 antenna, let's just assume they put one here. If you have 1 antenna here on your computer, and you start talking like this,
oh yeah,
your Wi-Fi performance just went down 60%. Just that. Or if there's just something behind it, the idea of having 2 antennas is just so important to a computer, because where 1 antenna may miss a signal, the other one will catch it.
Yeah.
And just having that extra antenna is so important. What we tell people when you're looking at network solutions is, no matter what, make sure you get a 2 antenna solution. Once you get a 2 antenna solution, the next thing to look for is get killer. But if you're in a situation where you're looking at a computer, even if it doesn't have killer, make sure it has 2 antennas. You're really doing yourself a disservice if you don't do that.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think a lot of people even take that into consideration.
And well, Alienware customers don't have to worry about it.
They don't have to worry
You
about
won't
it.
sell them.
Dude,
that
I was wiring those 2 antennas across the whole chassis for a long time now. I've been doing that. And then here we have my next speed chart. Killer's twice as fast, with blazing Wi-Fi speeds of up to 1.7.
I just get excited when I see that chart. Yeah, I
I
know.
know, dude. I like things that are, sometimes when I go home, because I have such great internet,
Yeah.
I like to just go to speedtest.net and I just like to see how fast my internet is and just go, wow, I really hit the jackpot.
Wow, life's real swell right
You know, when
now.
I was buying my house, that was one of the main things that I checked for, the ISP, before I was like, all right, time to put a...
That's what I did, but I
Time-
rent. But I was definitely like,
Yeah.
just real fast.
We I know we may be beating this with beating this topic, a lot here.
Yeah.
But I know people kind of come and go from streams, but there aren't a whole lot of times where you can literally come out and say this product is twice as fast as the one that came out before it. You just don't get to do that very often. So it really is. It's fun for us. We think it's meaningful for customers to get a fast Wi-Fi product.
Yeah.
And I hope that everybody loves it. I think they will.
I think so too. I definitely think so as well. So those are all the topics I really had for the 1550. Was there anything else that you really wanted to bring up?
I can't think of anything.
We went through the whole competitive chart. I think this
Yeah.
went way more thorough than
Yeah.
we were expecting.
This was good.
I'm so excited though.
Yeah, when we talked, we were like, I wonder if we can talk about this for an hour. Like how long can we talk about it? It's a good question, but I think this has been great. We kind of talked to this. We kind of hit on the router. Probably the only other thing I'd say is about the killer Wi-Fi products is, we work really closely with Alienware and everything from support to drivers and everything else. If just want to make sure your customers know that if they ever need us, we're available at Facebook. We're available through our website. If you go to our Facebook page and send us a note, you're talking to me. So let me know.
Oh,
if
really?
you need anything.
Straight to you.
I get it. I manage it right now. So it's kind of fun. We used to have somebody who managed it for us. And we just started realizing that, this is the voice of our customers. Like, we need to hear it.
Yeah.
We need to hear it. And so anyways, so it's a way we interact with our customers. So, if you have, ideas or suggestions, if you have a technical issue, come see us. We'll get you steered in the right direction. And we one thing we like about Alienware customers is they are very engaged and active.
Yeah, very active. I know that.
You know that.
I know that. I
I've
get lots
seen
of
it.
nice messages, and then some that just ruin my day. But very, very
But active, passionate.
It's just passion.
Passion.
I understand it. I'd be the same way. But yeah, and Bob and I and Killer Mike, we talk pretty regularly whenever there's something that we really need to talk about. Like, there's open communication between us. I know the Wi-Fi teams that work over here as well and within Dell that are, validating the wireless cards that are being put into our system. And Killer is constantly beyond destroying the requirements to pass for the FCC or even to get onto our systems or anything like that.
That's one thing that's interesting. I think a lot of people kind of think, we have an interesting history. We start off selling expensive add-in cards. Over the years we've gotten, I would argue, incredibly affordable. Like, not many companies have dropped their price 99% since the day of their first product launch. But moving from cards to built-in solutions, we've actually been able to do that. So one of the things, that I think it is worth all the customers knowing is, getting into an Alienware computer is really hard. Like, we talk with journalists about this. They kind of ask us sometimes, like, you guys beat the crap out of our stuff. I mean, you get in the labs, you test it.
Yep.
We have to meet with the Wi-Fi teams, we have to meet with your product teams, we have to meet with the test teams. I mean, it goes through the ringer. So the fact that we've had such a long partnership has always been something we've been proud of, because we just know you're not going to put something in your computers that
Just for
isn't
the sake
fabulous.
Of it.
Just for the sake of doing it. Exactly. So we're pumped about that. We're excited about it, and a lot of loyalty on our side towards Dell and Alienware. So.
That's awesome. Let's open it up to some questions. I know that there were some questions already here. I know that Master Dark, again, with his questions, his latest one. What's the price?
Oh,
for the 1550?
I don't know. We're still working out what that will be. I don't know yet. Certainly, probably a lot less than you'd think. But maybe I'll tell Selena when we finalize the price, and you can kind of talk about it on the stream.
For sure.
But I don't want to throw a number out there because I'm literally don't know at the moment.
Yeah, don't. Never mind, I'm not gonna say which company did it, but don't throw a number out there and then it's not that number. 2 weeks later.
Is that what happened?
That happened with someone that's
We
a
won't.
company that's a good
don't
friend
think
of
it
ours. I don't think anyone's going to put 2 and 2 together.
Okay.
Anyway, also Anna went ahead and linked over a lot of your social channels, including your Twitter and Facebook, and also the Killer Networking website. I highly suggest that you get your drivers from killerNetworking.com when you do get a system. I've been doing this since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It's great that they come with drivers on them on the system. I uninstall them and I get it straight from your website.
We generally update our drivers on our website. Well, first of all, we do it as often as needed, but generally probably every 6 to 8 weeks we put a new one up. Sometimes maybe it'll be once a quarter, but we make sure that as we make improvements and tweaks, we get those fixes up right away. So
Yeah. And that's why I prefer to go through there too.
Yeah.
Let's see what other questions.
Now,
we
if you
have.
lean forward far enough, Selena, you can see the big giant Alienware head behind
Yeah,
you.
and then there's an alien head behind.
Don't mind me.
You haven't even started leaning on my screen yet. It's going to be funny when you go through.
But yeah, we have the alien head back there. It's not on. I actually just put it there. I wanted to hang it actually from that spot, but I think
No, it's awesome.
I wanted
It's
to
a
hang
good
it from there
backdrop.
and turn on the lights. That way, the people that are sitting there get to see that behind them. Because only my side has really cool stuff, and by cool stuff I mean these command
Faces.
strip put up faces.
Faces.
Everyone thinks this guy's me, but he's not.
No.
He's happy.
What?
So let's see, what other questions do we have here? Yep, always watching, never blinking. It can blink. There's lights for that.
Always watch.
Well, here you go. Here you go. You're leaning.
How about a release date? What about a release
Like I'm
date?
falling asleep.
What is the release date for the 1550?
So we announced it on January 8th.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you guys, I'm not sure what actually you guys did, but I was told you guys were going to put on a pre-order on or about that date and then start shipping it later this month. I assume that's
I don't know
still
when
the
it's
plan.
shipping out, but we did do a pre-order
Okay.
kind of event for it.
Yeah. Yeah, so the short answer is you should be able to order it this month, we hope. Cross your fingers, but we hope. Yeah.
Any other big call-outs that you have? Any big wins you want to talk about?
No, the only other thing is for people who have bought the router, the Linksys WRT32X, we are going to work with Linksys and they announced this at CS within a few. I don't know the exact time, but it's going to be in the spring. They're going to do a firmware update. The way the router works now is that Killer sends it the information like, hey, this is a game, this is a download.
Yep.
And it prioritizes those 1 through 6, just like a Killer computer would. And then home traffic from other devices prioritized to 4. So what that means is we're relying on Killer PCs to do detection of what's happening on your network. We are now putting in a patch into it that does some detection on the router to catch games and downloads. So if you have a device on maybe you have an Inspiron that doesn't have Killer and you're playing a game, and the router will now detect, oh wait, this is a game, I'm going to prioritize it number 1. Or if you have maybe a media server that's doing a download, it will detect, hey, this is a download, I'm going to make it 6. So it will do a little. Actually, I think it'll do a lot better job of taking your most important and least important traffic and prioritizing those more appropriately to get it out of the way of other devices in your home. You can imagine the goals over time is to get all priorities detecting in the router. But right now, that's going to be the first release, and hopefully we'll be able to improve upon that as we move forward. But the nice thing is Linksys is going to make that available for both new and existing kind of customers. So people who buy it will get to upgrade it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, if that's all that you've got,
It feels like a lot though.
Well, good
it
stuff.
was a lot. It was a lot that we went through. I think this is probably the most informative tech talk for Killer ever.
Yeah. So I can't think of a topic we didn't cover. So
Yeah, I think we not only went over what was in the 1550, but basically your brand tenants and everything like that. So
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Well, so what I'll do is, and I talk to you guys all the time, I'll make sure you and Selena have, like I said, I know there's like a really interesting review that reviews Killer versus some of your competitors in networking. So we'll get that over to you. I have, gotten a sneak peek at the article. It looks really good for Alienware. So
Yeah.
So we'll get that over to you guys so you can share it with your audiences.
And now that we're trying to wrap up, now we have 2 new questions.
Oh, sweet.
And I think that they're very important. So first, I think this one's going to be an easy one for you to answer. Is what was the Linksys router? What's the model?
The model is the WRT32X. If you search for Linksys gaming router, and you'll find it really easily. And then it's actually should be available at every Best Buy. And in fact, if you go to Best Buy, not in every one, but in a lot of them, they have an end cap. It says the gaming router works great on Alienware systems. So like Alienware is even called out on the end cap. It's working well with the router.
Perfect. That's the way I want it.
Yes,
Better footprint.
yes. We're getting Linksys to spend their money advertising the Alienware brand. So there you go.
And now Brownco asked a question, and this is actually something I'm curious about.
Okay.
Is how does it handle PlayStation games? Because his PlayStation likes to run at 5 megabytes per second on his current router.
So I don't know what he means by run at 5 megabytes per second. So right now, the way it currently works is the PlayStation will be prioritized to 4 because it's not a killer. When the update comes out, we'll be able to take PlayStation traffic and we'll be able to detect it's a game and prioritize games above everything else. And then we also will be able to detect when the PlayStation is downloading games. And so we'll be able to make that traffic a 6. So right now, the traffic would be a 4, but in a few months, that will change.
I really wonder what kind of card the PlayStation has in it. I'm wondering, because I'm wondering if it maxes out at 5.
I don't know.
I do know that different...
Is he saying, I can't find the scroll. Oh, there it is. Is he saying 5 megabytes or is he saying 5 megabits? Oh, he's saying 5 megabytes. No, he's saying 5 megabits.
Yeah, megabits.
Yeah, 5 megabits is, first of all, 5 megabits is plenty for a game. Yeah, that's absolutely plenty. 5 megabits, you can often stream at 1080p at that rate, but your download's going to be pretty slow.
Yeah, well, because Destiny, he's speaking specifically about Destiny, and Destiny has pretty large updates.
So what he's talking about then is his Destiny updates are taking a long time. Yeah. Remember Destiny update, hours of downloading. Yeah, and frankly, the download could be because of his, just like anything else, could be because of his network connection. It could be because of the server serving the file slowly. I mean, there are a lot of reasons he could be having slow.
That's what I was actually leaning towards, the server just serving them slowly, because I know that I know that if you use like EA Origins client to download something, like I can Battlefield 1 is like 64 gigabytes. I can download that in like 10 or 15 minutes at home.
Yeah. The joys of gigabit Ethernet.
Yeah, I just like to throw that out there at you guys. I speed test and then I go ahead and download stuff, and then I delete it and do it all over again.
It's just for fun.
But then when I use Steam actually kind of like throttles that down. It doesn't send out the same amount of speed that I can get out of the Origin client. And I believe the same thing happens with the Blizzard client, which for the PC does that for Destiny as well. So I can only imagine that it does that on the PlayStation end as well. Okay, let's see.
See what these other comments are.
Yeah. Master Dark says, now this is a question I've been thinking about the killer network versus other routers, like home internet routers. I mean, I think we kind of went over why a home internet router isn't as great as a gaming router for the priorities that you're going to be using it for, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're just kind of even then, I feel like the streaming prioritization on the Linksys router is still beneficial to just a normal home setup.
Oh yeah. When my family, we kind of had a funny internet journey over the past couple of years. When I got really mad at my cable company because I was spending like $250 on TV that I never watched, and I think I don't remember what internet connection we had, but I literally called them and said, I want the cheapest thing ever. Like whatever the cheapest internet plan is, I don't want TV, I don't want phone, I just want internet. So they sold me a 15 megabit internet connection. And I thought, I know I got angry, but I probably shouldn't have signed up for a 15 megabit internet connection like that. I was probably pretty dumb. And but it was interesting. With 15 megabits, we could still stream 2 videos. We could still have 2 people streaming videos. Okay, the third one got a little iffy. But when we moved back up to 50 and 100, now we're back in the case where the router's making a huge difference in doing the prioritization, especially get people. My son just bought himself. Don't get mad, but he bought himself an Xbox. He wanted one for Christmas, but I wouldn't buy it.
It's okay. There's one over there. I have to give back to someone.
He bought himself an Xbox, and so now it's been interesting to me because typically I've been the only person in our house doing big downloads, and now he is as well. And it's just kind of interesting to see the effect it has on the network traffic. With the router though, we're not seeing the effect, so it's really cool. So
that's awesome.
It's not affecting gameplay on killer machines really at all. Any other questions coming through?
I have not seen anything new.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Well, cool. Well, listen, I appreciate everybody paying attention and all their time. That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks so much for coming in, Bob. As always, come in whenever you want. Just let me know.
Just let you know ahead of time. I'm here.
Yeah. Just let me know ahead of time.
Unless I bring breakfast tacos, then I can probably show up.
You can just show up whenever. Like, I'm here. I'm taking over this segment. All
We're
right,
just
you got tacos.
It was pretty funny watching Frank walk in on the last segment. Can we come in? Yeah, but they're filming. Don't talk too much. Hey, I'm Frank.
Yeah,
it was like the most team fight time. And I was like, my attention. I want to say hello, but I have to heal everyone.
It's awesome. Frank's is awesome. Yeah.
So thanks so much, Bob. Obviously, come by whenever you want. Selenityy, thank you for being here all day for the whole stream.
It's nothing. It's half of my usual stream.
Yeah, half of your usual stream. I know.
Half.
That's that awesome.
Sometimes
Okay.
I'm like, wow, I did so many things with my day, and she's still streaming.
But I'm just doing the same one thing.
The same one thing.
Awesome.
Well, thank you very much.
I'm going to flash my killer badge.
Also, sometimes at events, we have that badge out there. If you guys want that bling around your neck.
And by the way, these are fast disappearing. When we rolled out a Qualcomm a couple of years ago, we had 2 boxes of these. We had like a couple hundred left. We've given away a bunch. So these are getting harder and harder to get. So
you're not going to find them at events because we're going to keep them here until they turn into gold. They're going to be worth more than a Bitcoin.
Let's hope not.
Let's hope not.
Well, wait a minute. No, I do want that. That's totally fine.
That'll be good for you.
That would be good for me.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and transition to a commercial now. And
thanks
so much.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Selena. Thanks, Umar.